Alright, time to see if Invincible actually sticks the landing, or fumbles it right at the finish line. No recap, we're in the endgame now. Mark's stranded in an evil alternate universe, Robot's on his way to conquer Earth, and somehow things are about to get even messier. So let's not waste any time and jump straight into it. So Mark's stuck in the Mohawk verse and figures the only way to ensure his safety is to pretend he's Mohawk Vincible. Turns out, this version of him is dating Anissa, a female Viltrumite who had some run-ins with Invincible in the Prime universe as well. The couple rules over Earth with an iron fist. Prime finds out about Mohawk Bot, one of the few people left opposing him. Robot's understandably suspicious, but Mark cooks up a scheme that allows him to transfer his mind into a clone of Prime Vincible, effectively making him Earth's new ruler. Rex might not be the nicest guy ever, but he's a hell of a lot better than Mohawk Vincible. As thanks, Robot builds a portal that lets Prime go back to his own universe. When he arrives, however, Prime Anissa is waiting for him. Despite orders to repopulate, she just doesn't want human men, and so she forces herself onto Mark. Yeah. This is another example of the comic trying to do a touchy subject, but unlike Eve's first pregnancy, this just doesn't work. The way it's presented here makes it feel cheap and exploitative. The bigger problem, this isn't an isolated issue, it's part of a pattern. Take Bulletproof, the second worst character of the series. This guy cheats on his girlfriend, gets a second chance, immediately tries to cheat again with Eve, and then we get this completely unnecessary sequence where his parents die in a brutal, drawn-out scene that adds absolutely nothing to the story. It doesn't develop his character, it doesn't tie into any themes, it barely even gets referenced again. It's just there to shock you. And joking about it afterwards doesn't make it better, it just makes it more obvious. That's the frustrating part, because when the writing's good, it's really good. But moments like this make the comic feel insecure, like it doesn't trust its own storytelling to hold your attention. After all of that, let's talk about something the comic does much better. Robot. Mark tries to warn Cecil of what's going on, but Robot kills him. R.I.P. King, you were right about almost everything. Rex then launches his assault on Earth, unveiling a frankly awesome looking black armor. He then proceeds to kill several heroes and even tries to kill Monster Girl, the woman he loves, collapsing on the floor crying after sending her out an airlock. This is some great stuff. Robot's fall to the dark side is actually fantastic because it all feels like a natural progression for his character. Not once did I think he was acting out of line with what was previously established. He was always brilliant but lacking in humanity. This is that character flaw taken to the extreme. But he doesn't magically become a totally different character. He's not out here cackling while mowing innocent people down. You can see a quiet resignation in him, like he's just convinced this is what he has to do. He feels no enjoyment in it. It's legit one of the best heel turns I've seen in comic books. Mark tries to fight Robot alongside other heroes led by Immortal and Duplicate. Problem is, despite Rex's methods being horrific, it's impossible to argue with his results. Normal, everyday people lead much happier, safer lives because of what he did. He's a monster, he's despicable, but he actually created something of a utopia. There's even a pretty interesting moment when Invincible and Robot fight and he points out Mark's hypocrisy. Now yes, part of the reason Mark opposes Rex is because of his methods, sure, but like 50% of it is also what he did to Mark personally. Considering the whole Dinosaurus debacle, if the guy hadn't stranded Invincible in the alternate universe, I could see him eventually siding with Robot. Speaking of which, Nolan sides with Robot. The Viltrum Empire's top priority is still repopulation, and it's kinda hard to do that when you're fighting a war. Not being able to fight Robot, but also not being comfortable around him, Mark and Eve decide to leave Earth and move to Telescria, the Coalition homeworld. Invincible had his moral relativism era, now he's in his I just wanna be a dad era, as the birth of his daughter, Terra, happens a little bit before the couple leaves Earth. At the same time, King of Awesomeness Battle Beast tracks down Thrag, who has a plan to defeat Nolan and the Viltrumites. Wow, what a shock, not like I could have seen that coming from a mile away. Specifically, Thrag's found himself some fat-bottomed girls and started his very own Viltrumite daycare on the bug planet Nolan was in previously. Anyway, the two guys step up, two of the most powerful, bloodthirsty characters in the series about to have a battle to the death. This should be one of the best fights in the entire series, and yeah, I mean, it's cool. The problem? The comic keeps cutting away from it. Felt like I was watching an early 2000s shonen anime or something. We keep cutting from extremely badass fight scenes to normal, day-in-the-life moments with Mark and Eve just being parents, I guess. Look, Terra's cute, I don't mind that, but the stop-and-start nature of the fight means I could never really get my fill. It's like, damn, I could be watching a lion guy fight a Freddie Mercury Super Saiyan, but instead I'm watching Mark be vaguely racist to Oliver's Bug GF. Oh, so what did you want? Several issues of nothing but Thrag and Battle Beast fighting? But at the end of the day, I appreciate that BB got to go out the way he wanted, fighting a powerful enemy to the death. Also, Thrag literally turning Battle Beast into a badass fur cape? Yeah, that's cold. The battle doesn't go unnoticed though, and soon Alan sends Mark and Oliver to search for Thrag. Mark takes the job, but makes it clear he's done taking life or death missions. His top priority is his family, and he doesn't want to risk being separated from them. I'm sure that's gonna work out fine. Arriving on the planet, the brothers don't find Thrag, but Mark does find this weird-looking alien plant thing. As far as I know, this is never explained. Mark gets transported back in time, specifically to when he first got his powers all those years back. He then uses his future knowledge to prevent all the bad stuff that happened in the comic, including Nolan's attempted takeover of Earth. Things are objectively better in this timeline, and yet Mark's miserable. His daughter doesn't exist, Eve's dating Rex explode, and oh yeah, I guess Oliver got erased or something? Mark doesn't even mention that. He's then given a choice by the freaky alien plant. Go back to his original timeline and erase the one he created, or stay in the perfect timeline while sacrificing his personal happiness. Mark chooses option A. It's hard to call it the correct choice, but it's the one he's comfortable with. This whole reboot arc is one of the most controversial the series ever did, but honestly, I dig it. It's here that Mark realizes something that I had noticed a while ago. He kinda sucks at being a superhero. I'm not calling him a bad person, I'm saying he never accepted the whole sacrificing personal happiness for the greater good thing that's kind of essential for superheroes. Even when he was working with Dinosaurus, it was at least partially so he wouldn't have to keep fighting these people. The fact of the matter is, Mark became a hero for the flimsiest excuse possible. He didn't have a power and responsibility moment, his parents weren't shot in an alleyway, he became invincible because he liked comic books and figured being a superhero would be fun. Turns out, it isn't. It involves sacrifices Mark just isn't comfortable making, and here is when he first acknowledges that fact. It's why I like the reboot arc, despite it being kinda pointless in the larger scheme of things, serving basically as just an excuse to have a 5-year time skip. Tara's now a small child, Eve dated some other guy, and Oliver now has a John Waters mustache. Most importantly, Thrag's babies have now matured into teenagers. He and Oliver have become dear friends in the 5 years Mark was gone. Don't worry though, Oliver's actually a triple agent, pretending to side with Thrag while feeding Alan information. Mark and Eve visit Earth. Nolan's got a handlebar mustache now. Cool. And we find out about Marky, who is Mark's son with Anissa. This is also where the comic tries to give Anissa a redemption arc. Yeah, not gonna lie, that doesn't sit right with me. I really doubt this would have been handled the same way if the genders were reversed, and the whole "she's not that person anymore" angle feels unearned, to say the least. Anyway, Invincible and Adam Eve are kinda done being superheroes and go to a secluded planet where they hope to just raise their daughter in peace. That doesn't last. Thrag invades the planet with his son and daughter. One of them's like a vaguely awkward girl who questions her father's orders, the other's just a total cartoon character, like a snidely Whiplash type of guy whose two favorite hobbies are probably tying women to train tracks and kicking puppies. This is because, in case you needed more confirmation, Mark's not a superhero, and so he just kills the kid and tosses his body at Thrag after Mr. Bad Guy kills Oliver. Yeah, Oliver dies. We're reaching the finale, people. We're gonna get some major character deaths. At this point, there's no more running from it. Thrag isn't going to stop. There's no negotiating, no compromise. They have to take him down. So we get the Second Viltrumite War. The Coalition liberates planets, and eventually the two armies converge on Earth. Nolan fights the Grand Regent one-on-one, but is just no match for him, getting almost bisected. Mark gets angry and fights the guy on his own, with their fight culminating in the surface of the sun. Legit one of the coolest moments in the series, and more Dragon Ball Z nonsense. During their fight, Thrag confirms the only thing motivating him is revenge. No real long-term plan, no overarching goal, and certainly no honor. He just hates Mark and wants to kill him. The end. He sacrifices his own kids with just a flick of the wrist. The problem is that openly treating your own soldiers like garbage doesn't inspire a lot of loyalty, and so Thrag's daughter orders all her brothers and sisters to stand down. At this point, Mark does a whole speech about how maybe the real Invincible were the friends we made along the way, and another one bites the dust as Thrag finally dies, his body being burnt to cinders on the sun. The Second Viltrumite War is over. Nolan, however, ain't doing too hot. He shares a few last words with his son and passes the throne over to Mark. Nolan's death isn't unexpected, but they do manage to make it emotional and poignant. The finale has this whole theme of Mark coming into his own to become the man he was always meant to be, and having him step up and take over the Empire is the first example of that. At this point, we reach the end of the story, and from my experience, larger stories like this tend to go in one of two directions with their endings. One, the Last Crusade type of ending, where our leads ride off into the sunset. Things are intentionally left ambiguous and open-ended. Two, the Return of the King type of ending, where the story explains in great detail everything that happened in the days, months, and even years following our big finale. Invincible goes for the second kind. Tara grows up, Robot becomes a powerless brain in a jar, Marky gets adopted into the family, Eve learns she's practically immortal, Mark dismantles the Coalition and generally becomes a good emperor, knowing when to attempt diplomacy and when to choose war. And in the end, centuries into the future, Mark remembers what his father once asked him during their first fight. What will you have after 500 years? He looks around at his family, his empire, the long-lasting peace he's built, and he smiles. I try to avoid looking at other people's reviews when writing my stuff, just to make sure I don't get influenced by other people's thoughts, but I'm writing this final section after having watched a couple of retrospectives. I kind of feel like I was more negative on Invincible than a lot of people. I've seen more than one person say it's literally like their favorite comic book ever, and yeah, I just can't say the same. Not that I have a problem with people loving this comic, by all means, if you think Invincible's perfect, that's fine, and I can totally see why. Ryan Ottley's art is a consistent highlight of the series, going from extremely competent to downright breathtaking by the later arcs. There's some great characters like Cecil, Battle Beast, and Thrag, and the story consistently tries to throw curveballs and keep you interested. All good stuff. But I can't ignore the comic's flaws. It leans on shock value a little too often, some character decisions feel forced, and Mark's development can be all over the place. Which brings us back to the question that started this whole 3-part review. Is Invincible's success warranted? I would say that if the comic hadn't been written by the Walking Dead guy, it probably wouldn't have been as talked about. An indie darling with a dedicated following, similar to something like Saga, but not the international mega hit it is today. So yeah, at least partially it's due to Robert Kirkman having some prestige. But while Kirkman's name is 100% the reason this is now a multimedia franchise, the popularity of the comic itself is well earned. The term epic is basically meaningless now, but Invincible genuinely earns it. This starts as a totally average superhero comic about some dork getting superpowers, and it ends with us 500 years into the future seeing that very same dork as the leader of an intergalactic empire. Like with the previously mentioned DBZ, one of Invincible's greatest strengths is its willingness to evolve and change over time. Dozens of plot lines, dozens of characters, many with distinct origins and vibes. This truly feels like a fully fleshed out world, and the fact you can experience it all by just reading one book is incredible. So is it worth reading? Yeah, absolutely. You're not really gonna have a hard time collecting it. Probably the best way is to get the compendiums. There are these massive books collecting not only all of the main title, but all the spin-offs as well, so you're not gonna miss literally any plot-relevant information. If you don't like over-the-top violence, steer clear of Invincible. But if you like superhero comics, Dragon Ball Z, and want a story that plays around with the tropes while also delivering a compelling narrative, this is right up your alley. At the end of the day, I can't call Invincible a perfect comic, but I can call it one of the most memorable I've ever read. And that means a hell of a lot. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What do you think of Invincible? Do you like the final act of the story? Let me know in the comments. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I'll be taking a short break, but if you want more reviews, feel free to look over on the community tab of my YouTube channel. I'm currently posting weekly text reviews of Daredevil Born Again. Check them out. And thank you for watching.